Hold up. If you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time.
More variety than you can imagine. Relax Radio.
That is right. A very good morning to you. This is the Chat Wrap on a Relax Radio. How is everybody doing? How is your Tuesday going so far? Hope you are having yourself an amazing day. I am Jamie, and I'm going to be with you for quite some time, actually, talking to you about a lot of interesting things. We're going to be talking about a variety of things, and that's why I want you to be a part of this show, okay? Because we're going to be talking about entertainment, inspiration. We're going to give you updates about everything that you need to know, which is why you need to make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, with that being said, before we get on into the actual conversation, I want to remind you that you can be a part of the show, okay? You can tune in, let me know what's going on. If you have something that you want to share with us, if you have something that you want to share with every single other person that is listening in to the show right now, all you gotta do is leave a comment down below. And I want you to do a huge favor for me, okay? I want you to go ahead and leave a thumbs up button if you're listening to us on our social media platforms. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, because we are making sure that you are having fun, okay? We are trying our level best to give you content that you are going to appreciate and that you are going to, you know, like, which is our job here, and which is what we love to do. And that is why we want you to go show us some love on our social media. Again, that is Relax Radio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the TikTok as well. With that being said, I also want to remind you that you could always call me if you have a question to ask me, or if you have something that you want to share with everybody listening in. It's super simple. All you gotta do is call me on 07852 if you have something that you want to address, if you have a question that you want to ask me, or if you have something that you want to share with every other person listening in. All you gotta do, like I said before, is call me on 07852 Now, first of all, I know this is just the beginning of the show, and you're probably on your way to work, or you're just waking up. No judgment. It's okay. I know that this weekend has been absolutely, I wouldn't say chaotic, but it's been a whole roller coaster ride. And we spoke about the match yesterday, but it's time to get back to work. It's time to get back to our normal lives. And I will definitely be giving you a few tips and tricks on what you can do to be as productive as possible. And that essentially is the conversation that I want to have first of all, okay? And that's about, how you can be more productive. And that's this amazing concept that I have recently started to explore as well. So I thought, I'm trying this out. Maybe one of you, a few of you listening in, might want to try this out, try to be more productive. And that is working on an hourly basis. Okay, now I want you to hear me out before you make any judgments at all. I want you to hear me out and kind of apply this to your life before you come to any conclusions. So I'm not saying, it might work, it might not work, because so far in my life, I've been practicing this whole work on an hourly basis. And that has helped me become as productive as possible. But what I want to tell you is, at the end of the day, it's about your personal style, your personal preferences. So if there's try this in your life, it may work, it might not work, but it's worth a shot. Now, before we get into that conversation, I want to remind you that we speak about productivity quite often. Right, we talk about, especially on Mondays, I give you tips and lifestyle tricks on what you can do to be productive, on what you can do to work more efficiently and not be lethargic and lazy. But one thing that I haven't addressed so far is about this, what productivity is, right? Now, a lot of us believe that productivity in itself is about how long you work, right? Now, I have a bunch of, now, okay, I don't know about you, but I feel like all of us, if you're working, and if you're, or even if you're studying, it's almost like a competition with each other, right? You're like, oh, I worked for 8 hours yesterday and I only got 4 hours of sleep, but I'm here in office the next day. And the other person will be like, oh, you just worked for 8 hours? Guess what? I worked for 10 hours straight. And um, I barely got any sleep, but I'm functioning. I'm productive as productive can be. And it's almost like a competition to see who is more productive than the other person. But at the end of the day, what I want to tell you is productivity or becoming efficient or good at what you do, it doesn't depend on how many hours you put into it. It's not about how long you work. Okay, in other words, it's not about how many hours you work, it's about how much you work in an hour. Right now, this is not something that we have explored. It's not something that we talk about because I feel like the society that we're living in, it's all about working 8 hours, completing your 3 hour, 4 hour shift, and it's all about that limitations of time, whereas we don't have goals that we've set for ourselves to accomplish within an hour. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. Again, the reason I'm talking to you about this is because I want you to try to be more productive, and this could be an avenue that you can explore as well. Listen, now, if you were an office person, if you go to office and you're an office person, you could have seen that some people not only work but also enjoy their office time in the same 8 hours. Some keep working all the time and still are not able to produce that results that are expected. Okay, so what I want to remind you is that there is not a single formula to kind of become more productive. It's a combination of setting priorities. It's a combination of managing time, setting deadlines, and focusing only on work when you work. So do you kind of understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that there can be person A and person B. Person A stays in office from 8 in the morning to 8 in the night, and is always in the office, whereas person B comes to office only for a couple of hours. But you ask yourself, why does person B get more done than person A, who spends longer hours in office? The reason for that is productivity. Okay, the reason is because it's not about, like I said before, it's not about how many hours you work, it's about how much work you do in an hour. So that's how I want you to measure productivity. It's not about how little sleep you got. It's not about how many hours of work you put in, but within an hour, how much work you were able to get done. And that's how I want you to measure if you are productive or not. Okay, now with that being said, I think we've made that clear to everybody. But with that being said, what I want to do is to kind of explore how to manage our day's work on an hourly basis. Now, when I started this conversation, I told you that it is something that I'm trying to do. I told you that it's something that I'm trying to do because, I don't know about you, but for me personally, I've spoken about this quite a lot. I was always somebody that is very, very active. I'm a busybody. I need to have things going on. But when COVID-19 hit and when lockdown happened, for a time period, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself. Right? In terms of I had so much more time to myself. I didn't have places to be every hour of the day. And it was very confusing. And I feel like now that I'm getting back into the normal routine of things, it's kind of harder to adjust to the hectic work and the crazy hours because my body kind of got used to that, I wouldn't say lazy lifestyle, but that laid back lifestyle. So it's harder to become productive, and I've been trying to explore different ways to become productive. And one of the most efficient things that I've realized so far is that we can become as productive as we possibly could imagine to be by managing our day's work on an hourly basis so that we could get more done. I do want to talk about this a little bit more, and I definitely have things that I want to share with you with regards to this topic. So I want to go into a little break right now, but when we come back, a lot more interesting things await. If you want to know more, if you want to be as productive as possible, you are going to want to keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you've got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so with different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
There's more where it came from, that's all I'm saying.
Broadcasting worldwide. Radio.
The Chat Trap.
A very good morning to you. This is the Chat Trap. You heard right. We are here with you for quite some time actually, and I have Andrea joining me in a bit, and we are going to be talking about a lot of interesting things. And I most definitely want you to be a part of the show. Okay, I want you to tune in. I want you to share your thoughts and opinions because that's the reason Relax Radio was formed. The reason we're here is to give you good content. The reason we're here is to make sure that you are as satisfied, that you are as informed and inspired at the same time. So make sure that you tune in, make sure that you be a part of the show. Let us know what's going on. What do you have on your mind? Go ahead and let us know by calling us on 07852 473 473. Or make sure that you leave a comment down below. Now, if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, you can, there's a option. There's definitely a way that you can contact me live, right? If you're listening to on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, whatever it is, you can leave a comment and I can directly reply to you, which is absolutely amazing. And you can share your thoughts and opinions. Do you like the conversation that we're having? Do you not like it? It doesn't matter. Go right ahead and share your thoughts with me. And I think the good thing about Relax Radio is that we give you the platform, or we give you the opportunity to kind of share your thoughts and opinions with everybody that's tuning in. We have a lot of different people listening in from a plethora of different platforms. So people listening in on our app, on our website, and I don't know, by you sharing your thoughts and your opinions, you're also kind of voicing out, or you're speaking up, and you're providing yourself the opportunity to share your thoughts and opinions with others as well. So we will definitely be the bridge that connects you with all the other people listening in. So go right ahead. Please feel free to contact us anytime. Even if you're not, now this show is happening live, and even if you're not doing the show live, you can always just call us and let us know what's going on. And the number to do so, like I told you before, is 07852 473 473. Make sure that you leave a comment down below. If you're scrolling through us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button so that I know that you like what we're talking about. Okay, now with that being said, earlier on we were talking about something very interesting, and that was this whole concept of how you can be more productive. Now I know you've heard that 100 times, and usually people say, I've said, make lists, don't procrastinate. All of these things are what you can do to be more productive. But I gave you kind of I would say, a different, not a solution per se, but something that you can do, like an alternative thing that you can do to measure productivity, and at the end of the day, become more productive, become as productive as possible. And that essentially is to work on an hourly basis. We spoke about how productivity at the end of the day, it's not about how many hours you work, it's about how much work you put in an hour. Now, what I had a whole conversation about that a few minutes ago, but what I want to try to do is to explore with you on things that we can do to manage our day's work on an hourly basis so that we can get more done. Okay, so first of all, what I want to do is to figure out how our mind works. I've told this a countless amount of times, but I feel like the human brain is so complex. Like, complex in the sense of like, it's just so much happening, right? And I want you to ask yourself, have you ever felt that your mind works faster when you have less time to do things? Now, this can just be a me thing because I feel like being a person that procrastinates quite often, I feel like I can be, okay, let's take for example, with me, I still do my studies, right? So for example, if I have a submission or a deadline that is due on Friday, for example, and I start working on that essay or project, a submission today being Tuesday, I get a very little work done. As opposed to Thursday or Friday morning, I can do so much work in such little time. Right? And that's just something that I have experienced in my life. I tend to be a lot more productive, and I feel like my mind works a lot faster when I have a limited period of time to do things. Now, I know that a lot of you can relate to this. A lot of you can agree with this, and I don't know. I feel like I have achieved more in this scenario when I know that I have only an hour to get certain things done. Okay, I am not talking about like negative pressure, but I'm talking about how you can give your mind a positive pressure on a day-to-day basis so that you can be as productive as possible. Now, okay, for example, okay, let's take an example. Okay, for example, suppose you are working on a task you know is doable in 2 hours, but you have been assigned a whole day to get this specific 2 hour job done. If you don't set a deadline in your mind, I will bet you anything that you are going to take the whole day to finish that job. Does that make sense to you? Because I definitely have been in situations where that is more than true. Okay? So what I want to try to do with with having only an hour to get certain things done is you're setting yourself a sort of a positive pressure, and you're setting yourself a limit within what you need to get done. So you have seen how things work as per our mindset. To improve productivity, you need to start giving instructions to your mind on an hourly basis rather than on a daily basis. Because you can achieve more in an hourly basis than on a daily basis, even if you don't need to work all 8 hours. If you manage well, you can use a couple hours of them in experiments, self growth, some fun, whatever it is, which I think is amazing. So definitely try this whole hourly method. Try setting yourself boundaries when you have to work. Set yourself certain boundaries so that when you get to certain work or whatever, you become more productive. Okay. On another level, that's basically how your mind works. When you manage your work better, and when you set yourself time limits. So if you tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna get this done within this hour. If you tell yourself that, your mind works faster because it knows that it needs to accomplish this task within a given period of time. So what basically is the hourly approach? Hourly approach. Okay, before we get into that, I do have a lot of people tuning in right now. And for everybody that's tuning in right now, I want to talk to you about how you can be more productive. And we've spoken to you about a lot of different things, like, make a list, get yourself organized a bit more. These are all little lifestyle changes that you can do to become more productive. But having been in COVID-19 lockdown and having a hard time trying to adjust back into my day-to-day routine, I've been trying to explore different things in terms of being able to kind of be as productive as possible. And I think the most efficient thing that I've come across that I wanted to share with you is working on an hourly basis, right? At the end of the day, what I want to try to make you understand is that productivity is not about how long you work, it's about how much work you put in. So basically, in other words, it's not about how many hours you work. It's not about working 8 hours a day. It's not about working 10 hours a day. That does not define how productive you are. But rather, what defines of how productive you have been as a person is how much work you got done within 1 hour, right? Which is what I have started to do. And I feel like having adjusted to this whole work on an hourly basis situation is making me a lot more productive, because as I spoke of a few minutes back, I spoke to you about how our minds work. I told you how me personally, I'm a person where my mind works faster when I have less times to get when I have less time rather to get things done. For example, I gave you the example of how, if I have submissions, if I have an essay due, and it's due on Friday, and I start working on it at the beginning of the week, I get not so much done. As opposed to if I work on it on Thursday or Friday, just like, close to the deadline, I get so much done. Like, after I write my essay or complete my submission, I look back and I'm like, whoa, Jamie, you were able to get all of that done within the span of like a day or two. So what I'm trying to tell you is that when you set boundaries for yourself, when you set time limits for yourself, your mind is going to work faster. So, if you want to improve productivity, you need to start giving instructions to your mind on an hourly basis rather than on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Okay. At the end of the day, what I want you to understand is that you can achieve more in an hourly basis than on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Even if you don't need to work all 8 hours, that hour, if you manage it properly and if you get a lot of work done, that in itself, you are going to be as productive as possible. Okay, so at the end of the day, divide your day's tasks into hours. Okay, see what you want to achieve within the next hour. Is it hard to focus 8 hours straight, or are you the sort of person that can focus hour by hour? Figure out what kind of person you are. Evaluate yourself after each hour so that you know where you are going. Okay, in that way, you don't need to panic at the end of the day. By then, you already know that you are on track or not. Okay, so when you follow this method of hourly basis approach, in an attempt to become as productive as possible, when you follow this whole hourly basis approach, the good news is that you are always going to be on track. Okay, you are going to find it useful because if you're somebody that feels sleepy throughout the day, sometimes it becomes a very long day to pass, especially if you don't have much work to do today. But don't worry, hourly basis approach will let you throw your day, will help you segregate your day in a more productive way. So it's not about negative pressure. I know this can be confused with negative pressure. You put yourself a lot of pressure by saying, I need to finish this by the end of an hour. But it's not about negative pressure, but it's how you can beat negative pressure from positive pressure. Okay? When you have pressure of work by someone in your team or your manager, I will call it negative pressure. That essentially is negative pressure when somebody's on your rant the whole time telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this. That essentially is negative pressure. But if you set deadlines in your mind to do certain things, this is a pressure that comes from within you, right? And that essentially is positive pressure. And that positive pressure is most definitely going to help you to become as productive as possible. Now, with that being said, we're going to head on over to a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. I am Jaimmy. A very good morning to you.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts mainly because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on air, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal. And then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just it's basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with and, your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account. And then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.